Greetings and salutations, fellow book readers. This is Mark, and the book I will review today is Night Boat to Tangier. Behind me is the passenger port of Barcelona, with ferries departing to and arriving from all over the Western Mediterranean. There might be even one going to Tangier. And I thought it is a nice place to talk about Night Boat to Tangier. Okay, before we go any further, this is a personalized limited edition of Night Boat to Tangier with leather cover designed and made by me. At the end of the video, I will tell you a couple of ways of how you can get one for yourself if you are interested. And now let's get back to the review. Night Boat to Tangier is a novel written by an Irish author, Kevin Barry, and published in 2019, so it is fairly recent. I'm not a big fan of modern literature, but I read an interview with Barry where he stated that at 40 a man has to accept what he has been given and do the best with what is in front of him, with which I strongly agree, and it convinced me to give his writings a chance. This is Barry's third novel, and it had a bit of success. He's a decent writer, and as he matures, so hopefully will his writing, and there is potential for some great literature. What is Night Boat to Tangier about? It is about two aging Irishmen waiting in the ferry terminal, and stimulated by the downtime, they take a melancholic trip into the past to see if they can justify the lives they lived, and because it feels better and safer than the present. There comes a time when you just have to live among your ghosts. You keep the conversation going, elsewise the broad field of the future opens out as nothing but a vast emptiness. Now a bit of the plot to give you a little foundation for the following review. As usual, I will omit details so you can have the pleasure of reading the book and discover them for yourself. The main characters are Maurice and Charlie, two Irishmen in their early 50s who have been friends since childhood. Then there is Dilly, Maurice's daughter, and Cynthia, Maurice's ex-wife. The story starts and ends in the ferry terminal in Algeciras, Spain. The port by night had a hot, diabolic quality. It rang of the past, but was of the new century. On such a clear night, you could see an hour south to the lamps of Tangier. Algeciras is a Spanish town next to Gibraltar, and across from Tangier in Marruecos. It is a main transit hub between the two countries and on a larger scale between Africa and Europe. Algeciras has somewhat deserving a rough reputation. It is known as one of Europe's main entry ports for drugs, illegal immigrants, and all other contraband. Maurice and Charlie are sitting on a bench and watching passengers embarking and disembarking ferries crossing the Straits of Gibraltar. They hope to spot Maurice's daughter, Dilly. Dilly disappeared 3 years ago, and Maurice believes she has been vagabonding between South Spain and North Africa. They corner, interrogate, and threaten a young man with a dog who looks like a type Dilly would associate with and might know her whereabouts. As time passes and the boredom sets in, the two men embark on a melancholic trip into the past, the 1990s, where Maurice is young and in love with Cynthia. He finds himself in South Spain, where he enters the drug trade and together with Charlie runs heroin to Ireland. Maurice introduces us to his philosophy regarding life, which gives an insight into his psychology. He says life at its core is horrific, and there are only 7 things that can make you forget it: love, grief, pain, greed, lust, sentimentality, and desire to die. Back in the 90s, thanks to the drugs, the two friends were getting rich, and Maurice invested his profits into real estate. He marries Cynthia, and Dilly is born, but there are clouds accumulating on the horizon, The two like their merchandise a bit too much and start to consume it with increased frequency. It was breakfast from the bottle and 11nesses of the mirror. They could have taken a hint from Al Pacino in Scarface when he was warned not to get high on his own supply. Anyway, this habit leads them to bad decision making and loss of control and creates some predictably disastrous consequences. Back in the real world of 2018, Dilly arrives on one of the boats and spots the two men, but she herself remains unseen by them. As the book continues, Maurice takes us back to the early 2000s and the two friends' drug empire is collapsing, and predictably so is their friendship and Maurice's family. To get away from it all, Maurice takes an extended vacation in Spain and drifts from place to place. A decade later, Maurice is back in Ireland, tries to make amends for his past sins, and reunites with Charlie. And finally, again, the plot returns to 2018 and Algeciras ferry terminal, where Dilly decides to avoid the two men, but as she is leaving the terminal, she is seen by them. And that's the basic plot. What did I think about the night boat to Tangier? There isn't much of a plot. It is more of a character-driven performance with great descriptions and engaging dialogues, a reading I enjoyed. In my own life, there were a few times when I myself waited for the symbolic night boat to Tangier in some exotic part of the world, so I did connect with the two protagonists and their psychological dilemmas. Further, the two men are my age, and Maurice's life parallels a bit my own, and these similarities allow me to empathize with the characters and appreciate the narration. I myself got over the bad boy attitude by the time I reached 40, and the consequences and childness of my behavior finally dawned on me. But there are people who are resistant to and never do change, like the two protagonists. Perhaps the physical scars of those days, a damaged leg and missing eye, make them remember the past and won't let them disconnect from it and move on. The wounds are something like their identity card and keep reminding them who they are. And on top of it, there are psychological and emotional obstacles as well, such as unresolved problems and feelings of guilt, so their plates are still pretty full. A troubled silence descends. The old times are shifting again. They are rearranging like fault lines. The past will not relent. To me, it felt a little as the ferry terminal was a psychologist's office and the conversation between two friends was a session of self-therapy. They seemed to talk in order not to feel the still present psychological pain, which usually resurfaces and accompanies prolonged moments of silence. The book is about the midlife crisis, arriving at the crossroads and wondering in what direction to continue, or even if there is continuation. Maurice asks, "Would you say there is any end in sight, Charlie?" End to what? Struggling and suffering? When one gets there and looks back, it often seems as it is the end, but usually it is only the midpoint, and one needs to decide if it is worth to move on and where he goes from there, and try to see what might be lying ahead. The men sit restlessly on the bench. They are at a high vantage atop the stack of their years. They are old enough for the long view in either direction now. The theme of the book is recalling the past and trying to justify to ourselves the things we did and didn't do. A person or place paired with some downtime can make us reflect on our lives and search for regrets and excuses. Maurice's and Charlie's regrets are the youth lost with its beauty and energy, and the roads taken and not taken. And their excuse for the regrets is a routine of bad luck, which drove them into bad habits such as using drugs. The theme of the book is recalling the past and trying to justify to ourselves the things we did and didn't do. A person or place paired with some downtime can make us reflect on our lives and search for regrets and excuses. Maurice's and Charlie's regrets are the youth lost with its beauty and energy, and the roads taken and not taken. And their excuse for the regrets is a routine of bad luck which drove them into bad habits such as using drugs. Bad luck, the idea entertained itself, fattened, came to fruition. They took cocaine in breakneck quantities against the idea of the bad luck. They were hammering into the powers, the John Jameson. It was breakfast from the bottle and aliveness of the mirror. Humans in general are not satisfied with status quo and desire change, a way out of their current condition, and often look for the easiest way out. And for the book's protagonist, the unhappy condition was poverty, and the easiest way out of it was smuggling drugs and allowing themselves to be seduced by the lifestyle of the drug dealers, which never ends well. The problem with the easiest way out is that after the fun, life always presents you with the bill which needs to be paid in full, and the bill, or paying it, is what brought Maurice and Charlie into the Algeciras ferry terminal. To sum it up, Nightboat to Tangier can be a few hours of fun. The style is a bit of a modern version of something Henry Miller or Hemingway would write. Also, the novel seems to try to create in the reader an impulse to revisit his own past, maybe as a tool to move forward, to confirm that the past is not there anymore. It changed, and so did we. Further, the book is not a travel guide, but after finishing it, I thought about revisiting South Spain for a few months and wandering from Sevilla to Malaga and then crossing Gibraltar to Tangier, which I might still do. I think Nightboat to Tangier would be most enjoyable to the people going through or over their own midlife crisis, since they would be able to connect with the main characters. And for the youngsters, the message might be, don't go for the easy, because the easy becomes difficult with time. And pay your dues up front, because the interest accumulates exponentially, and eventually it will be due. I think the novel would make an interesting film adaptation with the right actors, probably as good as the book, perhaps a black comedy or even a Broadway play. Maybe some filmmaker with free time will read it and see its potential for visual interpretation. Okay, let's talk about the physical book. The book I am holding is a soft cover which I transformed into hardcover leather-bound edition. To make the cover, I use grade A naturally tan hide I buy from a tanner in North Spain. It is the same hide Louis Vuitton uses to make his bags, so it is top quality. I do all the processing of the leather myself. First, I designed the cover, which what I did here, I took a drawing of two middle-aged drunks seemingly engaged in some profound discussion while holding tightly onto their beer mugs. I think it nicely relates to the general idea of the book, a melancholic trip into the past influenced by alcohol. This is the book with the blurb, and inside front cover I printed a quote from the book. If you want to see a more detailed video where I explain how I transform paperback into leather-bound hardcover, click on the link in the description. I will make a maximum of 100 editions of each title. Each one will be numbered and initialed, and numbers will go in chronological order from 2 up, since number 1 stays with me. The price will be around $100, so if you would like me to make one for you, you can click below on my email and send me a message. I do not guarantee I will do it, since it will depend on the time I have available, access to leather, and if I can get my hands on the copy of the book. Now, if you're not willing to spend the $100, but you still want the book, what you can do is click below on the PayPal link and donate $3 or more to my channel. And for every 100 donations, I will make a lottery and draw one name. And the winner will receive the book. So, if you are cheap but feel lucky, this might be the way to do it. Also, your donations give me the extra motivation to make the book reviews, and I appreciate them very much, so thank you in advance. One more thing, when you make your donation, remember to include the title of the book you would like to win. The book itself is beautiful. Visually, it has a very nice texture, it smells great, and the more you handle it, the more beautiful it will become. And it makes a great gift for yourself or somebody who appreciates books. So if you want one, don't snooze or you might lose. Well, that's it, so let's end it here, and until next time, keep your ear close to the ground and read a book. Adios.